On August 18, 1993, car dealer Dalton Pace was shot and killed at his home in Decatur, Alabama. Gary Drinkard's name was linked to the murder by his half-sister. She had charges against her in an unrelated robbery dropped in exchange for her testimony. Gary was arrested, and with no money to pay for his defense was assigned 2 court-appointed lawyers. One specialized in commercial work and the other in bankruptcy. Neither of them had any experience in working a capital murder case. During the trial, these lawyers failed to call key witnesses and a physician who would have testified that Gary's back injury would have prevented him committing such a violent crime. The jury found him guilty, and he was sentenced to death. In 2000, after an investigation into prosecutorial misconduct, Gary was awarded a retrial. He was acquitted and released in 2001.
My sister and her boyfriend, they were hooked up on cocaine real bad. Using intravenously, neither of them were working, they were burglarizing houses, they were robbing people. She got stopped and they found cocaine on her. And to get out of it, she told them I robbed and killed a man. I have no idea why my sister would say that about me. Ever since the early 90s, I've tried to figure it out. I have no idea. She's crazy. After they charged me with capital murder, I knew I hadn't done it, so I knew there wouldn't be any evidence against me. If I'd wanted to get my own lawyer, I'd have had to spend approximately $200,000, and I didn't have that kind of money. No, I was just naive to the system. And I figured any lawyer that was half-assed could, prove that I was innocent. When they finally appointed me a lawyer, I guess it was a couple of months after I'd been locked up. He was mainly a business lawyer, a divorce court lawyer. He had never done a murder case, let alone a capital murder case, which is much more involved than just a regular murder case. The trial was, like I say, a farce. It lasted probably 3 days. They didn't properly prepare for the case. They didn't know what the district attorney was going to do. They didn't know the questions he was going to ask. They didn't call all the witnesses they should have. They didn't know what questions they should ask the witnesses. They even got me to write down questions for them, and the idiot still wouldn't ask them. I mean, there was just so many things they could have done they didn't do. You give up hope? I knew I was going to be found guilty before I went to trial, because I had a bullshit lawyer. When I got to death row, you hear the other guys' stories about how they were convicted, what they were charged with, what happened in the case. And you see it's the same thing over and over and over. You see guys down there that get reversals, they get new trials, and in 6 months to a year, they're right back on death row because they got the same shoddy lawyers. I guess that was the lowest point because I figured, well, it's going to happen like this over and over and over, and they're going to kill me. So I really contemplated suicide. I've seen a lot of guys down there commit suicide. I guess that was the lowest point. And then I got away from that, I started thinking about my kids, and I said, well, maybe where there's life, there's hope. I found out who the best appeals attorneys were, pro bono, and if I could get their address, I would write them a letter. I don't know how or why, but I was blessed. I got a new trial, and I got these wonderful attorneys that did their job, did the preparation, got the witnesses that they should have got. I mean, they were good lawyers. The jury stayed out for about an hour. When they got in there, they asked, did anybody believe the man was guilty, and they all said no. But they stayed in there for about an hour out of consideration for the victim's family, which was decent. Scared me to death, but it was decent. It took me probably a year working around the house, working out in the woods, felling trees and stuff like that to get my legs back under me, because sitting in a little 5x8 cell for 5 years, my muscles had atrophied, and it took a while to get them back in shape. It destroyed my relationship with my children and my first wife. We had to get a divorce. It destroyed our hopes of a dream home. It's destroyed my life. In America, there's no justice if you can't pay for it. The public defenders that honestly do try to do a good job, that do try to do their jobs, they have case overload that's unreal, and they don't have the time to prepare for the cases because they don't get the same unlimited resources as the prosecution does. If you don't get lucky and get a decent attorney that wants to fight for you, and you're poor or a minority in America, you're going to prison.